Good day, fellow golfers. I hope those in Canada had a great Canada Day and those south of the border enjoyed their Independence Day. Or wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a wonderful time. We've had some great weather here in Calgary, aside from some afternoon thunderstorms, and hey, it's stampede time for the greatest outdoor show on earth. Yahoo! Now, as I mentioned on the last podcast, I played my first outside tournament of my life, doing respectably, at least for the first 14 holes before I sort of imploded. But I want to focus on the positives that came out of the tournament, resulting in my improvement in play since then, and really cutting my handicap down really by half from 6 to 3. So about a week after the tournament, I shot a 69 in a men's night event, a 2 under 34 from a difficult set of tees, and even a 67 from the red tee challenge, which played at around 5,200 yards from the forward tees. Still need to make putts and make chips, right? When I reflect on what the key factors are, I would put them in a couple of buckets. Actually, 4 buckets. First is proper practice. Now, I'm not one to pound balls on the range. However, I have made it a priority to try to get to the practice area once a week, where I predominantly work on chipping and pitching. I throw balls down in a variety of lies, play to different pins if it's not too busy. The key here is that once I'm able to have a predictable trajectory with 2 clubs, I'm just using my 54 and my 58 degree wedges, then it's all about visualizing the landing spot and the rollout. Sometimes I'll be off on the calculations, but I'll tell you that it's better than just staring at the hole and trying to get it close. In fact, in my last 10 rounds, I'm only losing 0.35 strokes to the PGA Tour around the green. The other key piece, and the shots that I face often, are between 50 and 100 yards. So in order to practice this, I go down to the long pitching area and try to dial in my Dan Grieve address positions. If you haven't read his book or watched his videos, I highly recommend him. He is the foremost short game teaching wizard, and his play backs it up. Now, I've recently enlisted the instruction of Ross McLeod putting for some putting help as I await my first lesson online, as I definitely need another set of eyes on this part of the game, where I'm losing over 2 strokes to the field. So more to come on future episodes, and I also hope to get Ross on the podcast. Now, in the approach game, I like to pick flags or sticks on the range and make sure I try to stay within them. There are even some games that I play, especially if I'm looking to eliminate one side. For example, if I'm tending to pull the ball that day, pulling it right as a lefty, I'll penalize myself 2 points if I miss right, 1 point if I miss left, and give 3 points for an accurate shot in between. Get to 10 points before I'm allowed to change clubs. If you're serious about sticking to this, it can surely translate to the course, like where you want to avoid bunkers or water hazards around the green. Number 2, managing expectations and emotions. I may have mentioned this in the past podcast episode, but I continue to be astounded by my playing partners, whether in a tournament or even less competitive events. They can get very angry, and this has to linger for future shots. It just has to, right? If you aren't a professional golfer, really you have no right to be fuming mad. One would argue that even the pros shouldn't get mad. Players like Tiger, I've heard, had the ability to get angry and then move on after a few seconds, but that's a very difficult thing to do. So instead, be inquisitive. Like, say to yourself, well, that was interesting. Maybe I need to focus on hitting the ground in front of the ball. This is what I said to myself after topping a 3-wood off the tee to just pass a forward tees on a very difficult par 4, talons number 3. At this point, acknowledge the shot, try to learn from it, and continue to try to make par by playing sensibly. In this case, I laid up. I did end up making a bogey, but I did have a putt for par. If I was angry, I might have taken out a wood or a hybrid and tried to make the green on my second shot with water left and water in front, and that would have certainly led to a double bogey or worse. Number 3, hydrate and eat throughout the round. If you're like me, there's nothing better than a cold beer, or in my case, a vodka seltzer on a nice sunny day. By all means, do this on casual rounds. In competitive events, I'm now trying to make sure to keep that water bottle topped up and taking sips on every hole. I'm also eating a protein bar every 6 holes or so. I found that maybe the collapse in the last few holes of that tournament, I may not have been doing this, and that could have been a factor. And here's where I get a little bit spiritual. So number 4, remember to breathe. This used to be a tourism slogan for our province, especially around the beautiful Rockies. This is especially important in golf. Now, there are many breathing techniques out there. You can go on YouTube or Google it. Things like box breathing, or something I do, which is the 4-second inhale, hold, 4-second exhale, hold, and just repeat that. You can do that as you're walking to your ball. It's really something that people won't even know that you're doing. What this does is it engages the parasympathetic nervous system, which reduces muscle tension and allows for a more controlled golf swing. Now contrast this with shallow breathing and the sympathetic nervous system, or the fight or flight response. In golf, this would be disastrous, and is disastrous, as it causes muscle tension, shakiness, reduced cognitive function. Now, these are all things that are the enemy of a golf swing and the resulting golf shot. So when playing competitive golf, you most certainly want to be in that calm, relaxed, and focused state. Even enjoy the surroundings, the birds, the flowers, the trees, the feeling of the sun or the wind. Have gratitude that you're able to play this great game when others are physically or financially unable to. Okay, let's move on from the spiritual guidance of your yogi. Now, there's only been one glaring negative to my recently reduced handicap, and that's my earnings and net handicap events. Today I played in a $100 buy-in event, which was net skins, and there was almost 30 people in the field. I played very good golf in windy conditions, carding a +4 with a couple of difficult birdies. That even included a double bogey, which I was trying to carry a creek, which I wouldn't have done in pure stroke play. So despite these 2 birdies, I was either sawed off by a par or beaten by players with strokes. So sometimes I even needed to give 2 strokes on a hole based on the handicaps of the field. I'm not complaining. I suppose this is a good problem to have. As earlier in the year I was given 6 strokes, and now I only get 2. Well, there you have it. If you have any questions or comments, reach out to me on any of the social media or podcast platforms on Senior to Scratch. Enjoy some hopefully beautiful weather wherever you are, and make sure you're grateful for the opportunity to play this wonderful sport. See you next time on Senior to Scratch.